all of the sins of the subsequent people will be upon his shoulders. This is the greatness, the tremendous severe affair of, being responsible for misguidance in this ummah. Likewise, it is authentic that the Messenger of Allah said, وَإِنَّمَا أَخَافُ عَلَى أُمَّتِي الْأَئِمَّةَ الْمُضِلِّينَ. Indeed, that which I fear for my ummah are misguiding leaders or misguiding scholars. Scholars or leaders that misguide. And from the most evil of the statements of innovation and misguidance, or in fact of disbelief, that the Shaykh is now going to give as an example, is something that this Shaykh, Shaykh Ubaid, and in fact many of the scholars of our era, they frequently mention because of the danger of this particular call. And it is this claim or this call, he says, وَمِنَ الضَّلَالَاتِ الَّتِي هِيَ سَبِيلٌ التي هي سبيل إلى أبواب جهنم الدعوة إلى وحدة الأديان. From the misguidances, which is from the path that lead to the doors of hellfire, is this call of the unity of religions. وحدة الأديان. Right? And this is a call that we've heard before in the decades before, and it's come again now. And it's a call that as the Shaykh says, that everything from Yahudiya wa Nasraniya, these are diyanat samawiya, these are that Judaism, Christianity, these are somehow heavenly religions. These are legitimate ways, legitimate paths to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are alternative paths. And all of it is acceptable to Allah if you worship this way as a Yahudi, worship that way as a Nasrani, worship this way as a Muslim, worship that way. All of it is, this is a call that, as I said to you before earlier on, when you read the books of people like Hassan al-Banna from the Ikhwanis, and they see that they're clearly calling to not only oneness and nearness between the Rafida and the Shia, but also between the religions. Right? The Yahud are our brethren. Nasran, the Christians are our brethren. Right? And there was a lot of that happening there in Egypt, in Alexandria, which historically was the place of the Jews. A large community of Jews been there for many centuries. So a lot of that was happening, and so that came through in the writings of Hassan al-Banna. And you see there are people appearing every now and then who call to this call. And this call is, the Shaykh will go on to speak about it. And they basically say, well, you need to unite against atheism. Right? Atheism is a big threat to Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. So we need all unite and fight against atheism. And so the Shaykh says that we are going to dispute and contend against this call. He says, first of all, where have you got this idea that Yahudiya and Nasraniya are heavenly religions? Because, where's your evidence? Hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin. Bring your evidence if indeed you are truthful. Where's your evidence that Yahudiya, what's called Judaism, is an innovated religion, got nothing to do with Musa alayhi salam. It's a nationalist, ethno-nationalist religion concocted and fabricated when the Yahud were taken from Jerusalem to Babylon in the 6th century before Isa alayhi salam, around 570. This is known as the Babylonian captivity. They were taken, and this is part and parcel of the punishments given to them for their disbelief, for their disobedience, and they were taken captive, and they went to Babel, and in Babel they encountered a new environment that they weren't in before, new circumstances, so they began to write some new, like we would say, some new jurisprudence, some new fiqh in their religion. And they concocted a new kind of religion in which the aim was to protect the national identity in a foreign environment. Right? And so this became the foundation of what later became like the Talmud, the so-called additional revelation as they claim, but it's really just the writings of their rabbis and their priests and whatever. And they concocted this new religion. This is what became known as Judaism. And eventually this turned into rabbinical Judaism after the time of Isa alayhi salam, rabbinical Judaism. And what this basically means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in continuous communication with the Yahud through their rabbis. So revelation is an ongoing affair, and the rabbis are the recipients, and they are the leaders and the ones who determine the affairs of the Yahud, right? And they are somehow special and chosen, and they are the chosen people, the promised people, and so on and so forth. This religion is a bid'ah. This is unknown to Musa alayhi salam, right? This notion that every Yahudi is a piece of God, and that this people, this is an eternal people, all of this is kadhib. It's a lie, it's batil, it's false. It has nothing to do with the deen of Musa alayhi salam, which is the deen of Islam. It is Tawheed and Islam and worshipping Allah alone. So where is the evidence that this is some sort of, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's not. And the same with Nasraniyya. Nasraniyya, this is not the way of Isa alayhi salam. The way of Isa alayhi salam is what? It is Tawheed, worshipping Allah. He's an abd of Allah. He's a messenger of Allah. And he's ordered to pray, to give zakah, to be good to his mother. Right? It's Tawheed and righteousness and adhering to the law of Musa alayhi salam. Right? In which there is guidance, in which there is justice, in which there is, what was revealed to Musa alayhi salam. That's what he called the Bani Israel to. And that's what came afterwards of Nasraniyya, which when it reached Rome and became what it became, like a religion for the Greeks and Romans, crafted in a way that, something they already recognize of, blood sacrifices and worshipping gods walking on the earth and things like that. This is not the deen of Isa alayhi salam. So as the Shaykh says, right, this is impossible what you claim, that these are heavenly religions. And, these types of calls, they are cunning. These are intrigues, meaning these are plots in order to harm the Muslims. And Allah Azza wa Jal did not send any messenger, nor any prophet from the time of Nuh alayhi salam to the time of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, except with Islam. This is the name. The name Islam is the name of true religion. It is the name of true religion. If you look at every other deen, if you look at Yahudiyya, what is that named after? It's named after a tribe. Yahudiyya. Right? It's a tribal religion. Yet Allah is the Lord of all of mankind. How can there be a tribal religion? Right? So we know that this cannot be the name of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nasraniyya, or Christianity, that's named after Al-Masih, as they claim. Right? It's named after a person. Hinduism, named after a location, a place. Sikhism, very similar. It's like a tribal, ethnic religion. Buddhism, named after a man, and you can go on and on and on and on. Right? This is one of the clearest evidences that these cannot be, these are not the names of the true religion. The name of true religion is one which defines and explains the actual relationship between Allah and His creation, which is Islam. What is Islam? Islam means, first of all, that everything comes to Allah as a servant in submission. In kullu man fi samawati wal ard illa ati ar-rahmani abda. Everything in the heavens and the earth comes to Ar-Rahman as an abd, right? As a slave in submission. This is like the universal submission. This means that everybody is subjected to the laws of creation. So if you jump off a building and you are a believer having iman, you are no different to a disbeliever or a polytheist or an atheist who jumps off the building. He's going to die and you're going to die. The rules are all the same for everybody in the creation. These are Allah's creational laws. in his creation. You have poison, you have cyanide, you are going to die. And likewise, the atheist and the mushrik is going to die as well. Right? You eat food, you will get nourished. Everybody else. These are laws of Allah in His creation, right? So this is universal to everybody. Everybody is a slave of Allah in this respect. The atheist is a slave of Allah. The mushrik is a slave of Allah in this respect. No one can violate the laws of Allah in His creation. You can't jump off a building and try to fly. You can't do that. Nobody can do that. It won't work because this isn't in the laws of creation. So this is what we call the universal. Everything is in submission to Allah. We see it with our eyes. We see the sun in its motion, routine, regular motion, the moon in its motion. We see all the creational causes and their effects operating like clockwork, the sun, the water, the soil, the plants, everything routinely, day by day, everything is in submission, in subservience, right? This is what we call like the universal Islam, where everything is subservient. And then there is the Islam, which is al-istislam lillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Which is to submit to Allah in tawheed, in obedience. This is something that is done willingly. It's done willingly. The rest is unwilling. All the rest is involuntary, right? Meaning that's what's common between everybody. This now is willing submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this defines the actual relationship between the creator and the created. Submission, willing submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This can only ever be the name of true religion, Islam. And that's why we see in the Quran, inna deena indallahi al-Islam. Indeed, the religion with Allah is Islam. وَمَن يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, never will it be accepted from him. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And he's amongst the losers in the hereafter. And then the other ayat in the Quran that you are familiar with, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. This explains the actual message of the prophets, that we indeed sent amongst every nation a messenger, that you should worship only Allah alone and shun false gods. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونَ. We indeed sent, we did not send any messenger before you, except that we inspired to him that there is none worthy of worship except I, so worship me. So these are other texts. And also the hadith, indeed we, the prophets, our religion is one, but our mothers are different. So we all brethren to each other, the prophets and messengers. Our religion is one, we just have different mothers, right? So meaning that the religion is the deen of Islam, it is one and the same, they call it the same thing. Then we see also that the Shaykh goes on to mention, so after mentioning all of this, he then says, can any intelligent person say that Yahudiyyah and Nasraniyyah, that these are somehow heavenly religions? Rather, Allah Azza wa Jal, He sent Musa alayhi salam with Islam, and He sent Isa bin Maryam with Islam. And the Yahudiyyah are a group from the Bani Israel. They altered the Torah. And the Nasraniyyah, they are another group of action, and they altered the Injil. They altered the Injil. And so these are innovated, fabricated religions. And there's actually a beneficial statement here from Qatada. Qatada is the Mufassir, as you know, and he has a nice commentary upon the ayah in Surah Ali Imran at the beginning, chapter 3, verse number 7, about the ayat which are muhkamat, the clear, decisive verses which are the Ummul Kitab, وَأُخَرُ مُتَشَابِهَاتٍ, and others which are ambiguous. So he has a nice statement, and he's talking about, I'll just summarize this, like a page long, so I don't want to go through the whole thing, but in essence, this verse is speaking about those in whose hearts is a disease, because they want to go and to seek ambiguous passages from the Quran in order to make certain interpretations, because they seek deviation and they seek misguidance. So Qatada, in commenting upon this verse, he says that if this is not referring to the Haruriyya and the Saba'iyya, then I don't know who it is. Haruriyya meaning the Khawarij, and Saba'iyya meaning Abdullah bin Saba al-Yahudi, the one who launched a revolution against Uthman radiallahu anhu. Right? Because these are people who basically split the Ummah, and they split from the main body of the Muslims. And they did so by seeking ambiguous verses and interpreting ambiguous verses to justify what they are saying and to justify their way, which wasn't found amongst the companions. And he goes on to mention about the Khawarij, how they left the companions of Allah's Messenger ﷺ, yet the companions were widespread in Medina, in Sham, in Iraq, and even the wives of the Prophet ﷺ were alive, companions were alive, and not a single one of the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ or his wives were found amongst the Haruriyya, right, the Khawarij. All right, these are all not from the companions. And nor were they pleased with what the Khawarij were upon, nor did they support them or aid them. Rather, they narrated the ahadith of the Messenger of Allah against them. Right? So they spoke about all of those traits and qualities mentioned in the Sunnah, that they are dogs of the hellfire, the most evil of those who are killed under the sky. When you meet them, kill them. If I was to reach them, I would slaughter them like the slaughtering of Iyaad. The companions narrated these texts and these ahadith about them to let the people know about their traits. They recite the Quran, does not go beyond their throats, and all the other things which are mentioned about them. And he goes, likewise, he continues, and right at the very end is where we want to come to. He says, right at the very end, Wallahi inna al-Yahudiyya labid'ah, wa inna al-Nasraniyya labid'ah, wa inna al-Haruriyya labid'ah, wa inna al-Saba'iyya labid'ah, ma nazala bihinna kitabun wa la sannahunna nabiyyun. Right, so he says, by Allah, indeed, Yahudiyya is an innovation. Right, so Judaism is a bid'ah. It's not from the deen of Musa alayhi salam. It is an invention afterwards. Right? And an-Nasraniyya bid'ah. It is not from the deen of Isa alayhi salam. That is something new. It is innovated, extraneous to the Islam of Isa alayhi salam. And in the same way, al-Haruriyya and Saba'iyya, which appeared in the time of Qatada, these are two new religions, right? Look at how he's portrayed them. Like, just like Yahudiyya is to the deen of Musa alayhi salam, has nothing to do with it. And Nasraniyya is to the deen of Isa alayhi salam, which is Islam, nothing to do with it. Then in the same way, Haruriyya and Saba'iyya, and whatever they brought of beliefs and ideas. The Haruriyya, they made takfir of Ali, made takfir of Uthman, rebelled against the companions, broke away from the Jama'ah, built a whole new body of people. This is the bid'ah. And Saba'iyya, Abdullah bin Saba, and what he brought, the things which he brought as well against Uthman. Then he concocted lies against Ali and claimed that he was Allah and he was the Prophet and he was this and all those. This is a bid'ah. This is a new religion, right? So this is how the companions or the students of the companions, this is how they are seeing things, right? When they are seeing these innovations appear, this is their perception, this is how they view and see these things. So all of this is in the context, as we said, the Shaykh, what is he discussing? He's discussing this call of Wahdatul Adyan, the unity of religions. This is a very, very dangerous call. And I want to mention two things. First of all, we see that these calls very sadly have appeared. Some of the scholars have spoken about it. We see this call or this label, the Abrahamic faiths, or the Abrahamic house of worship, or all of this is batil. as some of the scholars explain, that in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal has made it absolutely clear that Yahudiya and Nasraniya have got nothing to do with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Right? There was no Yahudiya or Nasraniya because Ibrahim alayhi salam came before these innovations. How can that be an Abrahamic faith, Abrahamic religion? Right? So this is takdeeb of the Quran, to claim that these are somehow valid, legitimate adyan which trace back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is takdeeb of the Quran. So this is batil, this is rejected, and this is not accepted. And likewise, setting up houses of worship and so on and so forth, all of this is futile, and it is vain, and it is false. And the scholars of the Muslims have explained the ruling about building houses of worship for the other than Muslims, and they basically say it's haram. It is haram. It doesn't reach the level. This is the view of all of the majority of the scholars, that it is an action which is actually haram. But if it is done out of love for their religion and to support their religion and to aid their religion, and on the belief that it is something acceptable to Allah and a path to Allah, and that their obedience and their worship in these places is acceptable to Allah, this is kufr. This is major kufr, right? Expels from the fold of Islam. So we have to be careful, and we have to warn from this evil, and we mustn't allow ourselves, our families, our children to be affected by these calls just because they appear in some of the Muslim lands, right? We have to, because this is a dividing line between iman and kufr, number one. The second thing is that I want to mention, and we can close on this inshallah ta'ala, is that the wahdatul adyan, we've seen how the scholars have spoken, how wahdatul adyan can mean that Yahudiya, Nasraniya and others, that somehow they are heavenly religions. This is false. But there's also another thing that the people of disbelief, that they are engaged in trying to dissolve all religion and have one universal religion. Right? And this is like a slightly different angle from the one that we've been speaking about. The one we're speaking about is in terms of revelation, which has come, the Torah, the Injil, and which then underwent alteration, and it became a new innovated religion, and then somehow all that's being amalgamated together and treated as one. Everything's one religion, all paths to Allah. No, this is one angle, right? Because these were originally, they were revelations from Allah. But this is a different angle, and this is an angle whereby, so the way this is working is, instead of, if you want to invalidate religion, instead of saying your religion is false, your religion is false, your religion is false, your religion is false, and being antagonistic. So now you're being antagonistic. And so when you are antagonistic against a religion, what do people of that religion do straight away? Their back is against the wall and they are in defensive mode. So you want to defend your religion, right? So whether you're a Yahudi or a Nasrani or a Muslim, you're going to defend your religion. So this is not the way to kind of attack religion in general, but Islam in particular. So what they do is come from the side door or the back door, or from the cellar, or from different directions, and what you do is you start uniting people upon other than the actual foundations of true religion, right? So we know in the Quran, for example, our dialogue, ta'alaw ila kalimatin sawa, we say to the Ahlul Kitab, come to a unified word between us and you. Let's agree that we worship none but Allah. That we worship none but Allah. And we don't erect lords, we don't erect lords from amongst ourselves, right? This is where we begin. It is Tawheed. Tawheed is the starting point of everything. That's the basis of our unity and discussion with you, right? This is because Tawheed is the greatest justice. It is the greatest adl, right? So if you're committing shirk, how can we unite with you on something else? So what they do is start creating social justice, economic justice, racial, like all of these other side issues, and then unite people around these side issues, right? Let's fight racism. Let's fight climate change. Let's fight this, let's fight that, right? Let's protect the earth. And so all of these ways and means of making these more important than the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is another route that the people of disbelief are using in order to bring, it's not so much, it is unity of religions, but it's more having a universal religion to be an umbrella for all other religions, right? So they're not saying your religion is false, your religion is false, your religion is false. No, they're saying, yeah, you can sort of be Muslim, do what you want to do in your private life, whatever. But the most important thing is that we've got to save the planet. We've got to all come together and unite to save the planet, right? And so then what happens is everything else which is the true religion and what protects true religion, which is Tawheed, and what follows on from that, from Al-Wala, Wal-Bara, and all these other things. Now it's, well, the loyalty is around other things. It is around racism. It's around, transgender rights, because they're going for the kids. It's for the children. It's not for us older people. It's for the children that they're brainwashing. So this generation will be raised up thinking that everything is about, equality, social justice, saving the planet, this, that, whatever. And so they make them grow up by having these aspirations that this is what is justice, right? Not the tawheed of the messengers, that this is the greatest justice. No, this. So when you have a generation raised and brought up like this, the new religion is going to be, the new religion, the one world religion that they want to use to, is basically going to be saving Mother Earth. Gaia is like a earth worship religion that many of these people are upon, the Baha'is and other people who, many of these people, this is the official religion, it seems, of the United Nations, right? So this is what they are doing, and this is the generation that will come who's been brainwashed upon these ideas, and this will be the new one world religion to dissolve all the other religions. So this is like, it's kind of like unity of religions, but more so an umbrella religion to consume or subsume all other religions, right? They'll all be united upon these periphery side issues, all of which is batil anyway. The climate change and the global warming, this is from the greatest, most evil schemes that these people have concocted for this purpose, for stealing the wealth of people, of nations, and providing some sort of ideological justification for a new type of rule. They want to get rid of democracy because it served its purpose. The new type of rule is like a new feudalism where you become slaves and you own nothing, and you'll be happy, and you'll have no property and things like that. And that's where this is what the intention is. It's very clear. This is very clearly stated, openly known, and it's being implemented, as you can very clearly see, in the schools, in every sphere of activity. They are infusing this ideology and this agenda, but it does have like an end goal, and that end goal, one of them is to have a one world religion that consumes that every other religion. Right? And so that will be the most important thing. Like, it's to save the earth. So what counts as a sin? Like, in fact, even these people, I think last year it was, they had a meeting in the Sinai desert on what they think is Mount Sinai. It's not in Sinai Peninsula. But they had a meeting there, and they claimed to bring a new set of what they call 10 Commandments. They actually had 2 tablets with the 10 Commandments, right? And these 10 Commandments all, I don't know all I can't remember them all, but basically it's like what they're basically saying is that we need the old religion. It's not suiting our times anymore, so we need to update to the new, we need to change what is a sin and what's not a sin. Right? So now a sin might be, for example, what would be a sin now in this new religion is to have a barbecue. Because you're releasing carbon into you're burning, coals and things like that, and you're releasing carbon dioxide and other things, right? So this now is a crime against Mother Nature, against Mother Earth. This now should be made a sin. Right? This is literally how these people are thinking. This is literally what they are thinking, to change what the notion of sin is. Right? To travel more than you need to have too many steaks. Right? And likewise included within this would be, for example, that to affirm that that there's a male and a female. Oh, this is a sin. It's a sin and it's a crime against society. This is exactly where this is going. This is where they want to take it, obviously. And they're going for the children because the children are very easy to brainwash. They have no criterion. They have no way to resist. This is how children are. They don't have any preformed ideas and values, at that age. Unless the parents, watch over them and give them that nurturing. But they won't, because in that way you can just quickly change things in one generation. And you have a generation that's prepared to accept all of these lies and these hoaxes and scams. And they will be brought up thinking that this is what justice and truth is. Right? So this is another way of which wahdatul adyan, so to speak, not exactly in the same way as that, but in another way, this is what they are doing, especially in these Western countries, Western social democracies, and they are trying to goad in other nations into the whole scheme through the climate hoax, the global warming, and likewise the same thing with with contagion and pandemics, and which are manufactured and exaggerated. And it's all under the name of biosecurity and protecting the earth and saving the earth, and that's the ideology. This is all ideology. It's not science. There's no science behind this. It's fake science. And it's being weaponized to create, as I said, a new way of thinking, a new religion. And this is where things, are basically going. So we need to be careful. We need to be wary of that as well. We need to make sure that our children are not told these lies and fed these lies, where, instead of teaching children to be critical thinkers and to learn objective facts and to reason on the basis of those objective facts, what do children go to school for? To be given sexual indoctrination and, to respond to emotions. And, this schooling is not schooling is schooling, it's not education. It's changed. It's been taken over by these leftists, liberalists, wokeists, Marxists. All right? So this is very, very dangerous. And because these things develop slowly, step by step, in small steps, you don't really see the changes till it's too late. All right? So this is very, very important. You mustn't ignore these issues thinking they're not harmful. They are very, very harmful. They're harmful specifically because of this reason, because they appear to be so benign and so, insignificant, but everything is incremental, step by step, until you realize it's too late, So anyhow, that brings us to an end. We haven't finished. We've got, so where did we finished on the statement from Qatada. So inshallah ta'ala, maybe in the next lesson we can conclude the rest of the Shaykh's explanation, inshallah ta'ala. So what we'll do is we'll end our lesson there for today, and we'll continue the next time that we'll meet up. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.